Why is defining a terrorist group legally ambiguous under IHL? Imagine trying to draw a clear line between good and bad guys in a complex conflict. That's exactly what makes defining a terrorist group under international humanitarian law so tricky. IHL, which governs armed conflicts, doesn't give us a straightforward way to label groups as terrorists. Instead, it focuses on what acts are lawful or unlawful during war. It's more about the conduct than the group itself. International humanitarian law's main goal is to protect civilians and limit suffering. It applies to both state armies and organized armed groups involved in conflicts. But it doesn't criminalize entire groups just for fighting. Instead, it targets specific unlawful acts like deliberately attacking civilians or using prohibited weapons. If a group follows the rules, their actions aren't considered terrorism under IHL, even if they're violent. One big reason for the ambiguity is that there's no universal definition of terrorism. Different countries and organizations see terrorism differently. Some focus on political motives, others on the methods used. This lack of agreement makes it hard to apply a single label to groups across the board. Another challenge is that IHL and counterterrorism laws are separate. Counterterrorism laws criminalize acts meant to terrorize civilians, regardless of the context. IHL, on the other hand, allows certain military actions even if they cause civilian harm, as long as they're necessary and proportionate. Calling all violent groups terrorists can blur these lines and cause legal confusion. Some groups operate in dual ways. They might fight in armed conflicts and also commit acts considered terrorism under criminal law. IHL distinguishes between lawful acts of war and unlawful acts like terrorism. But when a group does both, it's hard to categorize them strictly as terrorists under IHL. Terrorist groups are often decentralized and flexible. They might have cells operating across borders, making it hard to determine who is a combatant and who is a civilian. This fluid structure complicates legal decisions about targeting and classification. Protecting civilians is the core of IHL. Mislabeling groups as terrorists without clear legal grounds can harm civilians by muddying the waters. It might lead to unlawful targeting or excessive force, which IHL aims to prevent. In practice, countries tend to rely on political or security reasons to label groups as terrorists. They don't always use strict legal definitions under IHL. When acts happen during armed conflicts, they're judged based on whether they follow IHL rules. If not, they're prosecuted as war crimes, not terrorism. Outside conflicts, criminal law and human rights law take over. So, the reason defining a terrorist group under IHL is so complex is because IHL focuses on conduct and protection, not political labels. The absence of a universal terrorism definition, combined with the complex nature of modern armed groups, keeps the legal picture blurry. This helps IHL stay focused on its main role, governing armed conflicts and protecting civilians, while leaving terrorism prosecution to criminal law.